the daughter nobody cheered for, the voice that was always ignored. The night of my father's retirement, I faced decades of rejection head-on. What I said shook the room and shattered the family legacy forever. Before starting this story, if you are listening from USA, please leave a comment with number 9. And if you are from another country, please leave the name of your lovely country. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel to listen to more stories. I'm Renata Monroe. I'm 34 years old, and I have learned the hard way that the deepest wounds are not always caused by strangers. Sometimes, they come from those who are supposed to love you the most. My father, Richard Monroe, built his life around discipline, tradition, and pride. For more than 40 years, he worked tirelessly at the same aerospace company. Rising from a draftsman to the CEO, the company was everything to him. My two brothers, Caleb and James, were his legacy, and I was just there, always in the background, never quite enough. The day before his retirement gala, I stood in my hotel room in Charleston, staring into the mirror, rehearsing a speech I wasn't sure I even wanted to give. A few polite words, a toast, something safe and expected, because that was how I had lived most of my life. Quietly trying not to give him more reasons to be disappointed in me. Behind me on the dresser sat the gift I had wrapped in navy blue paper with a silver ribbon small, simple, once meaningful but now heavy with years of silence. As I ran through my words again and again, a nagging feeling crept in. No matter what I said or did, it would never change anything. I had tried for years to earn his approval, but it never came. My brothers were the sons he celebrated, the ones he was proud of. I was the daughter he tolerated. Growing up in Charleston, our house was orderly and traditional, but love was rationed. Caleb and James were everything my father dreamed of: football stars, scouts, future soldiers. They could do no wrong. I was the quiet girl obsessed with stars and rockets, the one who didn't fit the mold. My father never said it outright, but I knew. His pride shone in the way he introduced my brothers at dinner parties, and his tone shifted when he spoke of me. "That's Renata. She's creative," he'd say, as if creativity were a flaw. I graduated with honors in aerospace engineering, working 2 jobs to make it happen, but no one from my family showed up at my ceremony. My father sent a brief text, "Congrats. Didn't realize it was today." I kept trying. Landing a job at a prestigious research lab, leading a team by my early 30s. But at every family gathering, when my father raised his glass, it was always for my brothers. So here I was, the night before his retirement gala, trying to convince myself that maybe, just maybe, things could be different. Maybe this night he would finally see me not just as the daughter who tried to disappear, but as someone worthy of his pride. But deep down, I feared the truth that nothing would change. Growing up in Charleston was a lesson in contrast and quiet suffering. Our home was immaculate and orderly, but beneath that polished surface was a strict hierarchy where my brothers, Caleb and James, were revered. Football games, scouting events, and military cadet achievements filled the calendar, each milestone celebrated with pride and admiration by my father. They were the sons who carried his dreams and ambitions forward, the embodiment of his legacy. For me, it was different. I was the girl whose world revolved around stars and rockets, not touchdowns and badges. I remember sneaking science magazines into my room, devouring every page with a hunger that no one in my family seemed to understand. While my brothers excelled in sports and leadership, I built model rockets from scraps and dreamed of space. The pride I felt when one of my rockets actually launched was met with a polite, skeptical glance from my father, followed by a whispered question from my mother about where I'd gotten the parts. The sting of that doubt cut deeper than any harsh word. Dinner was the stage where my place in the family was most clear. My father would announce my brother's accomplishments with a booming pride. "This is Caleb, recently promoted to captain," or "James now leads the advanced engineering team." Then, as an afterthought, he'd glance my way and say, "And that's Renata. She's creative." The word hung there like a quiet rebuke, as if creativity were a liability, A polite way to say I was different and less. The emotional distance wasn't just in his words, it was in the silences. The way affection was meted out sparingly and unevenly. My mother tried to shield me from the coldness, offering quiet support from the sidelines. But the gulf was wide and unbridgeable. I learned early that my worth in my father's eyes was measured not by my achievements, but by how well I fit into the mold he had set for his sons. School offered its own set of challenges. I was the quiet girl who excelled academically but never quite belonged. While others chased popularity and easy friendships, I found solace in my studies and the endless mysteries of the cosmos. Those years shaped me, building both a fierce determination to prove myself and a deep ache of invisibility that would follow me into adulthood. By the time I graduated from the University of Michigan with honors in aerospace engineering, I had already learned to carry the weight of silence. Scholarships helped pay part of my tuition, but I worked 2 jobs throughout college to cover the rest in unspoken necessity. Since financial support from my family was as absent as their presence at my graduation ceremony, not a single member of my family, including my father, showed up. Instead, I received a brief, indifferent text. "Congrats! Didn't realize the ceremony was today." That message, cold and dismissive, felt like a mirror reflecting years of neglect. Despite the quiet disappointment at home, I refused to let their doubts define me. I accepted a position as a systems analyst at Caltech's Jet Propulsion Laboratory, a place where my passion for space exploration found fertile ground. I poured every ounce of energy into my work, often pulling double shifts, submitting patents, co-authoring research papers. By 29, I was leading a division team, and at 31, I became the youngest female engineering director in the lab's history. Success should have been my shield, but in the presence of my family, it felt like a spotlight illuminating how little I belonged. At every family holiday, no matter how significant my accomplishments, my father's glass would always rise in toast not to me, but to Caleb and James. Their military ranks and steady leadership were celebrated as the family's true pride, while my achievements in science were quietly overlooked or dismissed as mere science club activities. I spent years chasing approval that never came, hoping to rewrite my story with every accomplishment. But the harder I worked, the more distant I felt from the family who should have been my biggest supporters. My victories were mine alone to celebrate. The warmth of recognition, especially from my father, remained a distant dream. It was in those moments of solitude, late nights at the lab or quiet mornings alone, that I began to understand the painful truth my worth would never be measured by their approval. The mold they had cast for me was never meant to fit. And so, I chose to break free, to define success on my own terms rather than live in the shadow of expectations that were never mine to carry. The ballroom buzzed with the low hum of conversations and clinking glasses as I stepped through the grand entrance of the Charleston Grand Hotel. The space was breathtaking, glittering chandeliers hung from the ceiling, casting a warm glow over the round tables dressed in crisp white linens. But the warmth I expected was absent. Instead, an invisible wall of coldness surrounded me, suffocating and real. My brothers, Caleb and James, were already mingling effortlessly among the guests. Their tailored suits and confident smiles marked them as the favorites of the evening. When Caleb spotted me, he approached with a smile that never quite reached his eyes. "Still working at NASA?" "Right," he asked, his voice polite but distant. "Jet Propulsion Lab," I corrected softly, feeling the weight of his dismissive nod. James chuckled from behind, adjusting his cufflinks. Dad always jokes it's more science club than real engineering. Their laughter was not cruel, but held a sharp edge of condescension. I forced a tight smile, trying to keep my composure. "Well, we did help land a rover on Mars, so I guess it's not all just a club," I replied, my voice steady despite the sting. Their laughter followed me as they drifted away, leaving me standing alone at the edge of the crowd. In that moment, I was transported back to high school, the invisible girl overshadowed by her brothers, the one with the wrong dreams and ambitions. the girl who was always there but never truly seen. Across the room, I spotted my father. He was the center of attention, laughing and shaking hands, the epitome of success and power. His deep navy suit fit him like armor, and his booming voice carried across the room as he regaled the guests with stories of his career. But when his eyes scanned the crowd, they never settled on me. Instead, he clapped Caleb on the shoulder, nodded proudly at James, and even shared a rare kiss with my mother. The final blow came when the event organizer asked everyone to take their seats. My father took the stage with the confidence of a man who owned the room, but he did not notice I was still standing there, at the fringes, silently questioning why I had come at all. My mother's gentle tug on my arm was the only thing that stopped me from walking away. "Please don't go," she whispered. "He'll say something. He has to. Tonight is about all of us." I wanted to believe her, but as the lights dimmed and the microphone was handed over, a cold certainty settled in. This night would not be the night I was seen. The room fell silent as my father stepped onto the stage, the applause swelling like a wave of respect and admiration. He wore his confidence like a suit tailored perfectly to his years of success. Waving to the crowd with a practiced smile, he paused, letting the moment settle before he began. "Thank you all," he started, his voice steady and commanding. "This has been a journey of a lifetime, one that I could not have completed without the unwavering support of my incredible family." I straightened instinctively, a flicker of hope sparking within me. "My sons, Caleb and James, have been my greatest pride," he continued, his eyes shining with genuine pride as he spoke their names. "Both have chosen to serve, to lead, and to build, carrying forward the Monroe legacy with honor and strength." The crowd erupted in applause. I felt their eyes on me, but my father's gaze never found mine. Then, his tone shifted, softening with a nostalgic weight. "Not every child is cut from the same cloth," he said slowly, as if sharing a private truth. "And that is okay. Some paths are different, some dreams less understood." His words hung in the air, dripping with implication. He did not say my name, but the meaning was unmistakable. The daughter he described was the one standing just beyond the stage, invisible to him as always. The polite laughter that followed was small but sharp, slicing through the room with the cold precision of a knife. I could feel the weight of every eye turning to me. My face burned, the heat of humiliation rising in my chest like wildfire. For years, I had hoped for acknowledgement, for even the smallest sign that I mattered. Tonight, I was laid bare. Without hesitation, I stood and walked toward the stage, not to claim the spotlight, but to deliver the final message that had been building inside me for decades. Clutching the small navy-wrapped box, I held it out with both hands. "From your biggest failure," I said, my voice steady and clear, each word deliberate. "Enjoy your retirement." Then, without looking back, I turned and walked away. The sound of my heels clicking against the marble floor echoed with a new strength, a declaration of independence and release. I did not rush. I did not stumble. I walked tall, carrying not just the weight of years of pain, but the fierce clarity of finally standing up for myself. The room remained silent behind me, but inside, something shifted, a long overdue reckoning that was as painful as it was liberating. The night after the gala, my phone buzzed relentlessly, lighting up with messages I was reluctant to read. My mother's texts came first gentle, pleading words filled with worry and hope. Then came messages from friends who had witnessed the moment, offering quiet support. But the ones that weighed heaviest were from my brothers. Their words were sharp, defensive, accusing me of ruining the evening, of being selfish and dramatic. I chose to ignore them. Their judgment was nothing new. Finally, a call from my mother broke through the noise. Her voice trembled as she tried to explain. "He didn't mean to hurt you, Renata," she said softly. "He just doesn't know how to show it. He was raised to believe emotions were a weakness." I listened, but my voice remained steady when I replied. I never asked for tears or pity. I just wanted acknowledgement, and after tonight, I'm done asking. The silence on the other end was long and heavy. She whispered, I should have done more, stepped in, but I had no energy left to argue. The wounds were too deep, the patterns too ingrained. Over the following days, I found myself walking the streets of Charleston, trying to make sense of what had happened, the familiar sights, the historic brick buildings. The soft breeze off the harbor felt distant and strange. Inside, a storm was raging, but beneath it, a quiet resolve was taking root. Then came the message I had been dreading but knew was inevitable. A simple text from my father. We need to talk. Those words felt like a summons, neither angry nor apologetic, but charged with a tension I could not ignore. Later that evening, I found myself standing at the doorstep of the house I once called home. It looked unchanged red brick, perfectly manicured lawn, the porch light always left on, as if waiting for a family that no longer existed the way it once had. Inside, my father sat alone in his armchair, clutching the framed photograph I had given him. We sat in silence for a long moment before he finally spoke, his voice rough with years of regret. I don't remember that day. Of course you don't, I said quietly. It was important to me. The weight of those words made him flinch. He admitted, I saw something in you afire, a stubbornness that scared me. You weren't like your brothers, you challenged me. And there it was, the truth I'd waited years to hear. He didn't know how to be the father I needed because I was different. That night, I made a decision. I would no longer chase a love and approval that were beyond his capacity to give. It was time to find peace on my own terms. Returning to Los Angeles felt like stepping into a new chapter of my life, one I had written on my own terms. The familiar skyline shimmered beneath the setting sun as I settled back into my role at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory. This time, the work felt different, not just a job, but a grounding force, a reminder of my own strength and resilience. Within days, my division head approached me with an unexpected invitation. You're still good for the keynote at the STEM Summit next month. Right, she asked. You're the first female lead from JPL invited in over 10 years. Given your story, your presence could inspire countless young women. Her words carried more weight than any technical accolade. As I prepared my speech that evening on my apartment balcony, overlooking the city lights, the opening line came easily. Sometimes the greatest fuel for a rocket isn't fire, it's rejection. I spoke honestly about my childhood growing up invisible in my own home, overshadowed by brothers who seemed to embody every expectation I could not meet. I shared how brilliance and determination could be ignored if they didn't wear the right name or follow the right rules. But more importantly, I told them about the power in choosing to stop waiting, to stop chasing approval from those who refuse to see you. You are not obligated to prove yourself to people who refuse to see you, I said, my voice steady with conviction. Some legacies are worth breaking, and sometimes the most revolutionary act is walking away not in anger, but in clarity. The speech resonated far beyond the auditorium. Women in tech groups, engineering schools, and career blogs shared the video, sparking conversations and empowering others to redefine their own worth. Messages poured in from women who had faced similar struggles, from daughters who felt unseen, from dreamers who had been told they were too much or not enough. One message stood out from a cousin I barely knew, Elena. Your story gave me courage. She wrote, My father treated me the same way. You showed me it's never too late to rewrite the story. That truth, the freedom to rewrite one's own story, became my mantra. I no longer sought validation from the past or the people who failed to offer it. I loved the woman I had become, the girl who never stopped showing up, who stopped shrinking to fit a mold that was never meant for her. Standing on that stage, sharing my truth, I realized I was not just reclaiming my story, I was giving voice to countless others. The greatest victory wasn't in the applause or the recognition, but in the quiet strength of choosing myself. This story reminds us of a powerful truth that resonates deeply in many lives. Our worth is not defined by others' approval, even from those closest to us. Renata's journey teaches us the courage to break free from limiting expectations and to reclaim our own voice and identity. In a world where family dynamics and societal pressures can leave lasting scars, choosing self-respect and personal empowerment is the most revolutionary act we can take. It is a call to everyone feeling unseen or undervalued to stand tall, embrace their true selves, and walk away from any relationship that diminishes their light. This story is a work of fiction created for educational and entertainment purposes only. It is not intended to attack or defame any individual, family, or organization. Any resemblance to real persons or events is purely coincidental. If this story moved you or sparked a thought, please let us know by commenting below. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions help us create more stories that inspire and entertain. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Thank you for watching and being part of our community.